Running. So welcome everybody to the Metro Zoning Appeals Board for January 4th, 2024. My name's Elizabeth Waits. I work for the Metro Codes Department and I'll be introducing the cases that are on public hearing today. The code staff will be presenting maps, photos, and the site plans for each of the subject properties to be considered by the board today. We have a couple of preliminary announcements to make on items that are on our agenda. First, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to the last case on the agenda, which is 2024-6. This is a request to establish a home daycare at 3304 Clifton Avenue, and that case has been deferred one meeting to January 18th. The board will be asked to consider one case on a consent agenda today. The board has submitted one case for review on consent, subject to all of the board members being in agreement, and also subject to there not being anyone in the audience today who wishes to be heard in opposition to this request. So I will read the caption of the case that we are recommending for consent adoption by the board. And if there is a neighbor who wishes to be heard in opposition or against adoption of this request today, please let us know at that time. We'll take the case off of consent, and in that case, then it'll be placed on the public hearing docket and heard in its regular order on the agenda. The case that we would like to recommend for adoption by the board is case 2024-4. This is a request to reduce the rear setback from 20 feet to 10 for property located at 1020B Stainback Avenue in order to construct a detached accessory dwelling unit. The planning department has recommended approval. Is there, I see Ms. Martin is here today, and so that's our applicant. Is there anyone who is wishing to speak against this request today? Madam Chair, I do not see anyone, and so at this time we would like to ask the board for someone to make a motion to approve if everyone is in agreement as well.
Move to approve.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye, raise your hand. Okay, 4 in favor, none opposed, so that's approved.
Okay, so that case is approved at this time, and so I will send you a copy of the order confirming today's approval. Right, I do see one council member present. I believe that's Councilman Parker's the only one present at this time, and so I would like to ask if you would like to be heard on anything remaining on the agenda at this time, and if not, all right, thank you. So for the items that are remaining on our agenda, I would like to explain to everyone what the hearing procedures will be like. For a case where there is someone who wishes to be heard in opposition or against approval of an application that's on public hearing, then please let us know whenever the chair and myself call the case up at the beginning for the public hearing. And if you let us know that you're here to be heard in opposition to the request, in that case, the applicants will have up to 10 minutes to make their presentation. Some of that time may be reserved for rebuttal. All people who are here in opposition to an application would have 10 minutes together to submit testimony to the board in opposition to the request, and then the applicants and any persons who also support the application would have the opportunity to use the reserve time from their initial 10-minute period in order to rebut the opposition testimony that we all heard here. If there is no one present wishing to be heard in opposition to an application today, then each applicant or anyone else who may be present in favor of the application wishing to be heard would have a total of 5 minutes aggregate. Altogether, 5 minutes to make the presentation to the board. Please note that sometimes the board members may have questions for you, either in favor or against, and we don't count responses to the board to answer their questions against the time that you're allotted. So that those will be our hearing procedures today. We'd like to let everyone know that the Metropolitan Zoning Code requires 4 votes in order to grant an application. And once a vote is taken on an application, any party who disagrees with the outcome may request a rehearing within 60 days. Parties may also appeal a decision to the Davidson County Chancery Court by filing a writ of certiorari within 60 days. All parties are encouraged to seek independent legal counsel before filing an appeal to ensure that all deadlines and procedures are followed. Just a last note to everyone about how to utilize the microphones on the table. So when the public hearing begins, or perhaps when the opposition testimony begins, parties may come forward. Obviously, we have 4 seats, so you can have 4 people that speak and rotate out if necessary. At the base of the microphone, there's a little icon to the right that looks like a person, and so you'll push that button. Make sure to push it 1 time. It's a little touchy. To push it 1 time, the red light will come on that looks like this, and then before you proceed to make your statements, please state your name and your address for the record, and then you may proceed with making the statements that you wish to submit before the board. So, if I may, moving to our agenda at this time, if I may take the second item reflected on the agenda today, and I need to grab another piece of paper, excuse me, be right back. This time, this case is not on public hearing. It's an item that's on our agenda, and the entire agenda is listed just in numerical order. So on case 2023-150, this was a request that was heard on public hearing at our last meeting on December 21st. This is a request for a variance from the maximum height requirements in order to construct a second story for a detached garage and to exceed the 16-foot maximum up to 26.5 feet for property located at 1711 Sevier Street. The motion currently before the board is to approve the request. There were two votes at the last meeting in favor of that request. There were 3 votes against that request to approve the application. We had 2 members who were not available at our last meeting, and so at this time we wanted to ask members Lawless and Ransom whether you'd had an opportunity to review the record on these cases, and if so, whether you wish to cast a vote.
You go first. I did review the tape actually last night, and I will be voting in this matter, and I'm going to vote against it. The motion to approve.
All right, and then Mr. Ransom.
I also had a opportunity to review, and I'm also going to vote against it.
All right, so that'll be 2 votes in favor and 5 against. In that case, will be denied, and we will let those applicants know. I don't believe that they're here. And so at this time, before we start the public hearings, I would like to ask the board to consider making a motion to suspend the rules so that we could go ahead and have a rehearing today specific to case 2023-138. This is a case where there was a staff error with respect to some competing letters that were submitted by a neighbor. They were submitted very close in time, and so unfortunately, staff were not all aware of the exact same letters that were in front of the board at that time. So the staff has taken it upon ourselves once the neighbor brought it to our attention, and we appreciate that, to correct this matter and make sure that the board has the proper information in front of you. We've corrected the record, and we would like to ask the board to consider a motion to suspend the rules so that we can go ahead and hold the public hearing today. It has been noticed, and staff has sent out all the notices to the neighbors within 1,000 feet as required pursuant to Title 17.
Make a motion to suspend.
I'll second. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye, raise your hand. Aye. 4 in favor, none against, so we'll go ahead with the rehearing.
All right, thank you all. And then at this time, we'll go ahead and call that case up on public hearing. Will be the first item on the agenda, case 2023-138. I'll go ahead and take my seat. We'll move through the slides, and if you all would like to come up at any point, Then the applicants, I see, are present and have an opportunity to be heard. And then is there anyone here wishing to be heard in opposition to case 2023-138? This is a request for property located at 5501 Meadowcrest Lane in order to reduce the rear and the garage side setbacks in the RS 7.5 district in order to construct an addition to the existing home. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to that request? I don't believe so. You all have 5 minutes, but first I'll move through our slides and then we'll let you know when you're able to make your presentation. Thank you. Case 2023-138. Before you now is the zoning map for this area, and so it's an area that is zoned RS 7.5. This is a corner lot where Knob Road as the side street meets the street sitting in front of the property, which is Meadowcrest. This is a view of the neighborhood plan. The aerial view, and then you'll see sort of in the center with a red marker is the subject property. This is the view of the home from the street. So this is across Meadowcrest. This is a view looking east. And so the home is there toward the right, and you can see the curve as the street meets Knob. This is another view from the opposite side looking west. And then here is the site plan that's been submitted by the applicant. So the request is to reduce the 20-foot requirement for a drive aisle for a driveway to, on that side, I'm sorry, let me review my notes because on one it's 15 and one it's 16. So 16 is the rear and a 15-foot setback along Knob. So that would be a 5-foot reduction there and a 4-foot reduction in the rear. And then these are some renderings that provide some additional dimension information for you here. So at this time, we'd like to ask anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application to come forward at this time. And if you would go ahead and hit the base of the microphone, wait till the red light comes on, state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Okay, testing. Can you hear me? My name is Dan Brewer. I'm an architect. Brewer Ingram Fuller Architects.
Can you state your address, please, for the record?
I'm sorry?
Can you state your address, please, for the record?
Yes. My personal address or?
If you're an architect, you can state your work address. Is that what you said?
Yes. Work address is 111 North Concord Street, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37091. And I'm representing the McAnallys today, and you've seen before you the site plan, and what may stand out to you is the unusual taper, the unusual shape of this lot. And the lot tapers down to only 34.7 feet in the rear, which is very narrow. And if you're thinking, or you saw the total site plan, which was developed in 1954, this particular lot was next to a cul-de-sac. In my theory, it's not substantiated, but the theory is that they took away, they tapered the lot in order to accommodate a cul-de-sac to the right of this site plan showing up here, and that resulted in this narrow taper. Now, these homes are small post-World War II homes, and we don't want to make an addition that gets out of the scale of the neighborhood, so our addition wants to be in the rear of the home. But that's where the taper of the lot is, and we're asking for very simply 2 variances. One, the rear allows us to get a full 2-car garage in, and the other, the second request, is a little known request. previously little known to myself, garage doors must be set back from the property line at least 20 feet. We can't do that due to this unusual taper. However, the other unusual thing about the lot is it's an excessive right-of-way distance. Right-of-ways in this neighborhood are normally 4, 6 feet. This is over 15 feet. So our garage doors will effectively be over almost 30 feet distance from the road. And the reason for all this, of course, is to allow the homeowner to have a full car length distance and be able to park on the apron in front of their garage. So to summarize everything to you, we're only asking for 2 very simple, very small variances, and hope you will approve those.
It seems to me there's a stair shown on a sketched floor plan. There's a stair that's also in the 15-foot setback. Is that?
Yes, that new addition is a two-story, and that is also positioned behind the house so as not to overwhelm the neighborhood. There are very few two-story additions that have been made. We're trying to keep the scale sensitive to what's there.
Right, I just wanted to clarify though, there's 3 requests because I'm seeing part of the structure on the side setback that's going into the 15-foot setback on this diagram that's above.
That's actually just the awning of a
Oh, that's
porch.
just an awning, okay.
Yeah, so where it says new addition, and then immediately to the right of that, where there's sort of like a double line, dark, yes, that's, now, of course, we would want the applicant to clarify, but I just wanted to let the board know that that's why it's not reflected on the application, because our understanding is that with the design of it not having the, like, Joey.
Oh, it's cantilevered. It's a permitted obstruction in the setback. And just kind of for the board's information, bill's been filed in council to allow supported post coverings in the setback too. So you guys will be seeing less of those in the future.
Okay, did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, any questions?
I have none. Great job.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing then and open it for discussion, if any.
The hardship's a lot, it's tapered. It's not excessive from one setback or the other. So I see the hardship, and I think you did a good job in the presentation.
I was just going to say that a lot of times we get requests that don't really look at the development pattern of a neighborhood. I do think that the lot is the hardship, and I think they tried to narrowly tailor their requests to that. They didn't come in with like a big request just based off of a hardship, so I appreciate it. It seemed like they were very intentional with how they did this, so I appreciated that.
Is there any motions?
Make a motion to grant both variances based on hardship of the lot and maintaining the neighborhood, contextual setbacks, the whole feel of this ancient subdivision. Referencing that's the year of my birth, so we'll just sort of leave it at that.
You're the appropriate one to make the motion then. I'll second it, just to support you there.
Thank you.
So there's a motion, a second, any discussion? I don't see any, so all in favor say aye, raise your hand, aye. So that is 4 in favor, there are none opposed, so that passes.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have case 2024-1. This is a request by Harding Academy for a special exception to be allowed to construct additions, including new classrooms and offices for property located at 170 Windsor Drive. On your desk, there are 2 letters of support. There is a letter from current council member Druffel, as well as a letter from former council member Evans. The planning department has recommended approval of this request, and we would ask the board members to make note that NDOT has recommended the adoption of a condition requiring an updated student pickup and drop-off circulation plan. So here we have the zoning map for this area. This property is zoned R10. This is the aerial view, so you'll see the school there in the middle. This is the front, sort of like whenever you pull in to the main parking lot. And this is a view looking east. Then here you can see how those buses are parked in one parking lot, and then this view is looking west toward, or maybe north. And then this is one of the school buildings, which you can see here to the right, just to try to get a sense of how the layout of the property looks. And understand, I did my best to take photos of the buildings that I understand are being proposed for renovation or replacement. And so here, I believe there's a playground sort of to the left, and I think that was a tennis court in the back there in the green. And then here's another view of that area. So here is the full site plan, and then I've tried to blow up some of the areas and mark some of the information just a little bit larger, just so that we could all be able to see what was written there on the site plans. So this is one of those 2 buildings. So it's the one on the right, and then the one that was on the left is here. So I just provided that information in case anyone wants to reference it. I'm happy to move back through those slides. And then here we've got the text, which is before the board, and some information about the school, which was founded in 1971. And so it does predate adoption of the Metropolitan zoning code, which is one of the conditions for this section before you here today. So we'll be happy to take a closer look at any of that information. And at this time, I'm sure we have someone here to make their presentation. All right. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to this case today? I don't see so, Madam Chair. And so I believe we may have some other parties who are present wishing to speak in support as well. You all will have 5 minutes to make a presentation jointly. And so at this time, we'll ask the applicant to come up and for you all to divide your time as you see fit.
I'll start. My name is John Gorham with Bard Civil Associates, civil engineering firm located at 6606 Charlotte Pike.
And I'm William Hastings with Hastings Architecture in Nashville, 225 Polk Avenue, 37203.
We appreciate the board's time. As was mentioned, Harding Academy is a kindergarten through 8th grade school, which has been operating at 170 Windsor Drive on 6 acres since 1971. The board has approved a handful of requests over the years, special exception requests for the schools as the campus has evolved. And this is a request for 3 specific items to update as the campus continues to grow and the school evolves. Do we want to go back to the site plan so we can be clear the overall? Okay. Yeah, great. There's 3 requests related to this special exception. The first is for a new kindergarten building. Currently, the kindergarten building is on the eastern property line The plan is to demolish the existing kindergarten building and then relocate it to the south side of the campus. So that's kind of the rectangle that you see that's on the bottom of the screen. Right now, that's a larger surface parking area and some grass area, and it's being replaced with also a playground and a plaza behind it. So this building would act as a new kindergarten, but also it's kind of a front door to the school, which is an important part of the reason for this relocation. The second request is for the approval of a future performing arts building. That's the larger rectangle that you see that's kind of interior to the campus at the top of the screen. That's a future project, but we wanted to go ahead and it was important from Harding's perspective to go ahead and reach out to the community and kind of give them their long-range plans of everything that is included in this campus's master plan, so they kind of know where the campus is going long-term. So the Performing Arts Building is the second request, and the third request is an increase in enrollment. This is a 7% enrollment increase request from 518 students to 555 students. Over the years, Harding has requested increases in enrollment as their campus has evolved and the school has evolved, and this is just not something that's going to happen overnight, but this is kind of looking ahead at the years ahead to make sure that they've got the ability to evolve as the school continues to grow. So those are the three requests. One important condition we wanted to note to make sure that gets in the minutes is that the way the circulation works now, and this is not changing with any of these projects, is that there's a ring road, kind of a clockwise ring that you see where you enter off of Harding Place, and for pickup and drop off, parents can circulate around the entire campus, so there's plenty of room for queuing so that cars are never backed up on the street. And the cars exit on Windsor Drive, the 3 lanes that you see kind of at the top right of the screen. And an important agreement that's been worked out with the neighbors over the years is that is a right-only exit, so that when people exit, they go right, they go back out to Harding Pike, and they don't circulate within the Bellmead Links neighborhood. So that's a condition that was approved previously, and we want to make sure it's clear that we're still good with that condition.
And I'll just wrap up with a couple of things. First off, we had a really terrific meeting with the community on December the 13th. Probably had about 30 neighbors attend. And you can imagine this is a very active neighborhood, and they're very in tune with what's happening at Harding. And to have no opposition, we're very pleased to feel like we've addressed the concerns. There is a representative from the Homeowners Association of the condo building that is our closest neighbor here tonight, and they don't have any opposition as well, and we're appreciative of that. Also, you received the letter from Councilman Druffel. The building that we're adding will be a 2-story building in the front on Harding, so it's certainly compatible architecturally. You know, the neighborhood around us is a historic neighborhood, has historic overlay, and so we want to make sure that we're not doing anything to jeopardize or to impact that, and we've been very thoughtful about putting the buildings in locations and designing them in a manner that we don't cause any problems there. Also, the natural features, you may know there's Kiever Park, which is an open space across the street from this, which we're completely leaving untouched as part of this project. And then the traffic impact, you heard the condition from NDOT, and we did meet with NDOT and have a discussion, and the 7% enrollment did not trigger any concerns from their standpoint regarding the volumes of traffic and any off-site improvements. So we'll leave the last 30 seconds if we need it for anything. Thank you so much for your service to our city. Appreciate it.
Elizabeth, would it be possible, what was the suggesting that NDOT wanted? There was one request, and I didn't quite understand that part of it, and I would.
Sure. There is an email from Matt Hadavaugh in your packet, and my notes reflect that they have recommended adoption of a condition requiring an updated student pickup and drop-off circulation plan. And then former Councilmember Evans has also requested that you consider conditions, and then that information is contained on the letter on your desk.
We're happy to provide that to NDOT.
Okay, any additional questions? No? Nothing else to add? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
I had one question. clarify what's needed from NDOT, an updated plan for the student drop-off and pickup?
It's in our packet if you look at page 39.
That's what I'm looking at.
It sounds like it's a circulation diagram just showing how the cars circulate and where they queue, and where they enter and exit.
And then the other comment we got, they said in their presentation that they were gonna keep doing that anyway with the traffic plan, only right turns on Michael Windsor, so they've already agreed to that.
Yeah, I just, with this much construction, I mean, in favor for it, I use the opportunity to update, for the traffic plans and everything else. That always seems to be a worry.
Yeah, it just seems to me NDOT asked for an updated plan.
Yeah.
Officially spoken to NDOT.
Right.
So.
Yeah, they're not asking for any changes or modifications to what we're looking at now.
Right.
So that's why I lost that disconnect, and we've got the traffic flow and we've heard the testimony. That's why I was, okay, yeah.
Well, their request came mid-December, so.
Yeah. I make a motion that we approve based on the completion of the traffic updated circulation. All three, in fact, the increase in enrollment, the additional building, and I forget what the third one was, but I make a motion that we do approve those based on the information.
A second.
Okay, I just had one point to ask is, and they agreed to it, but the condition about the traffic egress on Windsor Drive.
Yeah.
Okay, that's part of it. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye, raise your hand. That's 4 votes of approval, so, and none in opposition, so that passes.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
This time we'll move on to case 2024-2. This is a request submitted by A New Leaf School to establish or relocate a child care center for up to 25 students temporarily to property located at 374 Hicks Road, which is zoned R20. The planning department has recommended approval. So this is the zoning map of the area. And the church located there in the middle, which would be the temporary location. This is a street view. That one's looking north along Hicks. This is the front of the congregation building. And then this is the rear of that building we were just looking at. And then to the right, you can see the building, which is connected, but which would be utilized for this temporary daycare. So there's another view of that building and then the rear of that structure. Here you can see the daycare that's located to the rear of the property. Playground. And I wanted to go ahead and show you views of the neighboring residential lots, which do abut this particular lot. And this is the site plan that was submitted and explains the layout of the uses that would be conducted on the property during the time that they propose to utilize that space. Here is some property information for you. So firstly, wanted to point out that the size of the lot is slightly over 4 acres. That Hicks is considered a collector street. This is in Bellevue. It's a large intersection that goes to Highway 70. And so this is not far from that intersection on the north side. And then confirmation in our GIS map that there are no other facilities, daycare centers, or daycare homes within 1,000 feet, which is part of the information that's required in your text for approval. And so we would ask everyone to just make note of 2 sections, a landscape buffer yard and a play area, where the board has the power to waive the specific development standards outlined there pursuant to the fact that this proposed daycare center is an accessory to another institutional use. So that is the information that the codes department would like to present at this time. And let's see, I believe, ma'am, are you here to present this application? All right. And is anyone here wishing to speak against this case? I don't see anyone, Madam Chair. And so you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation. If you would go ahead and let us know your name and address when you get started. Thank you.
All right, can you hear me? My name is Elaine Harvey. I go by Elle, and my address is 4341 Pecan Valley Road in Nashville, 37218. And I am here to request a special exception for our preschool. I am the founder director of the school, and we'd like to serve our families in this temporary location on Hicks Road. New Leaf is 18 years old. And most recently, we were renting an old house that was off of Charlotte Pike, 7520 Charlotte Pike, from the First United Pentecostal Church. And in February of last year, they sold us a piece of land for us to develop our school. And that piece did not include the house that we were renting from them, because they would like to demolish that and create a pavilion for their church. So our site, which is under development, which I have here, that we purchased, is not yet ready. And our leases ended with the Pentecostal church, and that's why we were looking for a temporary location. So we were very fortunate to find in the UU congregation the people willing to host us for this time period, and so that we can develop our permanent location, which is underway. So that at this place we will serve 18 months old to kindergartners, and also develop the overall Creek Arboretum to provide programs for the community, field trip for other children of adjacent schools, teacher development in outdoor education and sustainability, which is things that we very much value. So we're here to request, I'm here to request this exception, and to not have to worry about these standards given the nature of our temporary relocation there, which we hope will be just a few months. That's all I have. Thank you.
Wanted to ask you about the fence around the play area. I don't see a fence, and I see there's being an ask for a waiver. How do you feel about not having a fence and having children running around? It seems that that might be a drive, next to a drive.
Yes, we have a plan for that. So what we will do is park the staff cars in a way that limits the ability for people to drive behind. We will put a fencing which is in between the two church buildings, so that if we do activities like art activities outside, in that area, it will be fenced and it's covered. And then the children will be going to the playground in the back that will be blocked by the staff parking.
Okay.
How long do you plan on being in this facility? I know it's temporary.
Yes, well, we have an agreement with the church for 7 months.
Okay. Thank you.
So are there any additional questions? No? Looks like we have some board members still thinking. No? No? Okay. Do you have anything to add?
I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will close the public hearing then. seems to me it's a temporary solution, and they have a plan for keeping the children safe in the playground. So I think it, other than the landscape buffer, it meets the special exception requirements.
I agree. I think we might want to make those conditions that they implement those measures. But just because, like you said, like the look of it, just a little concern, little people sometimes run off.
Right.
So, to the extent that they can to, keep them within that area would be good. But I'm supportive of it.
Okay. Okay.
Which one of you two is going to make your motion?
I'll make the motion. I make a motion that we approve the special exception because they meet the standard, and then the one standard that they don't meet, we're willing to waive it because the applicant has agreed to the conditions that they'll implement safety measures to keep the children safe in the outdoor area because it's not fenced in all the way. So with that, that's the motion.
I'll second, and then I think we need to add the waiver of the landscape buffer.
Yes, and along with the waiver of the landscape buffer, due to it being a temporary home for this school.
Discussion on the motion?
Is there an intent that we have a time limit for these exceptions so that they don't, for a year?
I was going to say 12 months.
Would you accept a friendly?
Yeah, you can make that amendment to the motion.
And I'll second the amendment.
Okay. Just them getting construction people in there and getting stuff done at their other one. Overruns always happen, don't they?
Never.
Sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye, raise your hand. Aye. So that's 4 in favor, none are opposed, and that passes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to our last case. This is 2024-5. This is a request, it's an item D appeal for an addition to a non-conforming structure that is within the required 5-foot side setback for property at 319 Hancock, zoned RS5. So, well, it's base zoned RS5. This is one of the, it's a specific plan that also allows for dados. So here you have the aerial view. And this is the front of the home as it exists right now. And some information about the home. This home was originally built in 1930. Here, this is a photograph that was submitted by a neighbor to illustrate the view from, it appears from their upstairs, and to illustrate sort of the closeness of the structure, and that's specifically the addition section, which is already under construction pursuant to a building permit that was previously issued. So here you'll see the opposite side from the other neighbor's yard and the view of the street in the front of the home, which you can see there where that white, I think maybe Highlander, is parked. This is the site plan before you, and so of course the addition section is the area shown in red. And then here we wanted to inform the board that whenever the building permit application was submitted, this was the site plan that was provided to the codes department. And this is the site plan that's before the board at this time. So it appears that there is some information that's been updated regarding the location of the existing home as it relates to the side setback. So you all are here or all three of you wishing to speak in favor of this application, and then I believe you're here wishing to speak in opposition. So each side will have 10 minutes, and you all might wish to reserve some of your time of your 10 minutes for rebuttal, and then, of course, amongst the three of you, you would want to decide how to utilize your time. At this time, you may come forward, and then as each of you begins to speak, make sure to let us know your name and address.
While they're coming forward, can I ask about this packet that was in our chairs or in our?
Yes, thank you.
Where did this
There-
come from?
Thank you. That is correct. That information has been submitted by the neighbor who's here. It was submitted today. I've not had an opportunity to review it, and so it may be necessary for the board to have some additional time to have an opportunity to read through those materials. And if you all would like, we could either take a pause now or alternatively, we could take a pause before the neighbor speaks so that, and I believe that I need to give a copy of this to you all as well. So how about we all take a pause and make sure that the applicants also have an opportunity to read the materials that have been submitted. Okay, and then Madam Chair, you can let us know when you're prepared to move forward, and I just want to make sure we have time to also let Metro Nashville Network know, because sometimes they'll pause the recording while we take a break.
I think we have a board member. Is everyone done reading? Okay. Looks like the appellants are ready as well.
And if it's okay, I know. All right, I believe, have you all had an opportunity to read through the materials? All right. So, hopefully Metro Nashville has an opportunity also to get our video feed started live again. And so at this time, I believe we were at the stage where you all may begin to make your presentation.
Okay. I'm Preston Quirk, architect for this project. Address is 2801 Blair Boulevard, Nashville, Tennessee. Also have with me on my left is Rick Dismukes. He is the Trace Ventures Director of Residential Construction. And the homeowner on my right is Andrew Swain, who's here. This project, as it was mentioned, includes renovation work in the existing house and in addition to the rear of the home that measures 14 feet deep by 24 feet 4 inches wide. The addition was designed to align with the left side of the existing home. I prepared a site plan during design based on the Metro GIS information. Scaling that plan online indicated that we had a little over 5 feet between the house and the left property line. Our client, Andrew, had also just recently purchased the house, and he didn't know any history about the fence between the two homes. The building permit used that site plan to get that site plan I did was used to obtain the building permit. Then work began on the renovation, the addition, the foundations were built, and framing work started. While framing was ongoing, the neighbor voiced concerns with Trace Ventures about the location of the addition related to the fence. They called codes, and they said they believe that the fence is actually a couple of feet into the neighbor's lot on the left. So after the call from the neighbor, codes issued a stop work order, and then Trace Ventures hired a surveyor to determine the exact location of the house on the lot. It was my understanding that work on the addition was pretty much halted after the stop work order was issued, but they were allowed to continue with interior renovation work on the existing home. The survey that we did obtain shows that Mr. Swain's house is in fact 1.9 feet from his left property line, which is non-conforming with the current requirement of 5 feet for a RS5 zoned lot. After we got that survey, we filed to be before this board today and requesting that the addition be allowed to remain in line with the left side of the existing home. I do want to point out the eave line of the addition is about 11 feet above grade, which is lower than all of the left side of the existing home there. Some of it is up to about 20 feet high. The addition is in line with the home. It's not any further any closer to the property line than the house is now. And you're looking at an existing house that's about 95 years old. The original house is about 64 feet long, and this addition is about 14 feet further back on the left side of the home. We're here asking that this addition be allowed to remain aligned with the left side of the existing home, and ask that you consider the short length of this addition and its lower eave height. The view of the addition will be about the same whether it remains in its current location or if it was moved over a little over 3 feet to be inside a 5-foot setback line. And that's pretty much all my comments. Reserve the remaining time for rebuttal. I don't think Rick or Andrew have anything to add. Okay, thank you.
I've got a question for Joy or Ann maybe first. Are there any rules in Nashville related to a fence being there for X number of years and that denotes the new property line, or does that not apply?
None that come into play for us. I mean, there is the law of adverse possession, but we don't get involved in property line disputes at all.
Okay.
So we let the parties work that out, and then, but to Mr. Quirk's point, if the applicant's submitting a site plan to us that shows compliance, we're going to issue it. We don't require a survey every single time.
Right, okay. Thanks, Joey. This is a question, I'm not sure for whom exactly, but do you know how far the current house is from the neighboring house?
I don't know the exact distance there. I really don't. Maybe the opposition can address that question.
And you said sorry, go ahead. I don't know if.
They did submit a survey. Let me see.
Because she did say she hired someone to do a survey, but I don't remember, maybe I missed it, seeing anything.
Yeah, that may answer the question here.
Let me see, her address is 317, right?
Okay, so this survey, this is dated, I guess, when that house was built. That's a newer house to the left. Shows 8.5 feet, 8.6 feet between the house and the property line. And Mr. Swain's house is 1.9, so you've got 10.5 feet between the two homes.
Right, and this survey was, almost 10 years old, but new enough in the world of surveys. This is more of a question. So when you originally did this, you said you just did it off Essential Parcel Viewer and scaled it out. Was there any particular reason you didn't get a boundary and topo survey to begin with?
That was all we had at the start when I started design.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing as a builder I do is get a boundary and topo survey so you understand what easements and where everything's placed so you avoid things like this. Yeah, I don't.
Am I correct that you've already got the foundation? You've already started building this?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Construction was started before there was a concern. I think the fence is close to 5 feet off of your existing house now.
In the back, it's a little bit closer, as you can see right here.
We'll have the opposition come up later, and we'll ask questions.
When were you first aware of this potential issue? During the phase of construction?
Rick Dismukes with Trace Ventures, 1900 Church Street, Nashville. We were framing, putting the roof on it, and the neighbor yelled across the fence that we were building on his property. And I said, well, I don't think we are, and we'll look into it. And that's when it started. That's the stage of construction. I don't have the exact date, but that's when it started.
Okay.
Any further questions, or should we let the opposition come up and then ask other questions during the rebuttal?
No, I don't have any further questions.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, we'll have the opposition come up now.
Hi, I'm Whitney Weiss. I live at 317 Hancock Street. I do have a deep fear of public speaking, so sorry if I'm nervous. I am here to oppose the addition and the zoning appeal, mainly because the original site plan submitted to obtain building permits falsely shows where the current house is located. It is not 5 feet from the fence. As you can see, the first plan that they originally submitted, they did not have property boundaries in September. And they were asked to please show the property boundaries on the site plan. Then they resubmitted the site plan with incorrect locations of the fence and property lines in order to achieve the permit. They also neglected to have the shed on the original permit as well. The fence is our property. It is also located on our property. We spoke with the builder of our home. We are not the original owners. And he built the fence so that it wouldn't be on top of the house as a courtesy to the people living at 319. They were aware of where the property boundaries were. When we brought up the issue, we saw the framing go up and realized how close it was to our home. And it felt like it was on top of our children playing in the backyard. So we said something immediately to try to let them know that we noticed where the property boundary was and that it was very close and not within 5 feet. They accused us of harassing them, being unneighborly, and continued building, if not building faster. So that's when we reached out to zoning. We did not want to go that route, but we felt kind of forced to do something. And that is when they received the first stop work order. I also feel like if you walk around our neighborhood, you notice that none of the houses are that close together. The house is currently appraised at $256,000. The appraised value of the current structure is less than the value of the remodel that's being completed at $300,000. There is also an unpermitted addition that was put onto the original historical home. And in order to do the amount of work that they are requesting, they should be required to make the entire house compliant with current zoning rules and regulations, or at least put it in front of the board. I'm not sure if the current appraisal also includes the unpermitted addition that is on top of the historical home, but they all are about, I want to say 1 foot 9 inches away. They did already begin construction of the addition, and we let them know, I think it was at the beginning of October, that was too close to us. I'd also like to note that his property is one of the largest lots on the street, so there's ample space to expand the current structure toward the other lot line without being non-compliant. I'm also curious what the plan is for rainwater runoff from the roof, as well as how the gutters and roof will be set up, if they'll be even closer to the house or not. I know there's a lot of construction going on in our area, and I do feel like if we allow builders and developers to create structures without doing surveys, sending random paperwork into the permitting office and violating zoning laws, then asking for your forgiveness afterwards, that'll just allow for people to build wherever they want. It would be so nice to build to the edge of your lot line, but it isn't very reasonable. They also have violated the stop work orders, and we're continuing construction when they're asked not to.
Can I ask you a question? Where is the unpermitted addition that you've mentioned on this?
There is, I believe it's the second half of the house. If you look at where the roof line is, when you are visiting the house, you can kind of see where the construction is different.
Popped up a gable
Yes.
I have a codes question for Joey. So I get that this was like a historical home, you know, non-conforming, you know, after a certain time, we wouldn't see it. So I guess my question is, when they filed the site plan for the addition, did it not trigger, like, because typically whenever we get like an expansion of a non-conforming use, it comes before us. So I guess my question is like, is there a reason why this one didn't, or does because it didn't appear to be one? I guess that's the question.
It did not, based on the site plan submitted for the building permit, it complied with the setbacks, so.
Okay, that's why.
That's why we would issue. Historical home is subjective term. It's not in a historic district. I mean, it may be an older home, but it's not one under the Historic Commission's review. If it were, it wouldn't be in front of this board.
Right.
They can approve deviations from the setback. I got to follow up with the applicant, just for our purposes. Looking at this drawing up here, are you alleging the area that's labeled as office and laundry, is that the addition that was constructed without a permit?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay. Do you know the timing occurrence of such a construction? Or?
I am uncertain, but it looks like I think it was like 2005 or 8.
Okay.
There
And
was
to
some
be
work
fair,
done
I'm
on
going
the house.
to intend, so go on and prepare the folks on rebuttal. Same question for you, if you have knowledge of that. We'd like to know as far as the codes department.
It looks like, from what I understand, you also provided a packet of paper that has a 2013 permit in it. Can you tell us about that?
The 2013 permit would be the year that our house was built.
That's when your house was built. This is
Yes.
a permit for your house?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's a public record.
Joey, I have one question for you. This is probably more codes, but from my understanding, you need the houses to be 3 feet off the property line, 6 feet total for fire. If you get any closer, you can't have any glaze or anything else, essentially, right?
That's correct. Yes, sir. That's the building code's requirement. In this instance, the zoning code would be more restrictive.
Right.
Requiring a 5-foot setback.
Right.
And kind of just adding on to that, in cases like these or additions to non-conforming structures, let's say, this is a hypothetical, but let's say it's at a foot from the property line. When they come for a permit, part of their review is a submittal of fire and building code drawings that show that with no openings or windows within that 3-foot space.
Right, because, for example, I mean, assuming this architectural plan is correct, there's 4 windows in between the neighbors that would have to essentially go away, and then you'd have to have fire rating along that whole wall because you're 1.9 feet, right? Is that my
And
understanding?
that's what'll, I mean, as part of the fallout of this, we'll have to, should this board grant this approval, we're gonna have to either show compliance with the building code or get a building code appeal to allow those openings within 3 feet.
Yeah, that would be, under that scenario, you'd lose 2 bedrooms, potentially. Yeah, we have to do like a interior window well kind of situation, because you can't have windows within 3 feet, but they have to face the opposite direction. I guess since you're here, I have a question for you. Have you proposed, and this is, this is more of just a suggestion, probably a little bit outside of my jurisdiction, but have you proposed selling the neighbor 1.1 feet of your property, which equates to 2% of your square footage, to
No one's
alleviate
made
the
an
issue?
offer.
What's that?
They need to make an offer and speak to us
Okay, I'm just asking
without
if you
being
proposed that.
aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, listen, I'm just
I know.
trying to find a
Yeah,
solution that works for everybody.
I've certainly thought about that, yeah.
Yeah, because that would get you to 3 feet, and potentially alleviate a lot of issues both ways, because it's kind of a little bit of a mess.
Remember, Ransom, just one caveat to that, just for the watching public, you cannot under Tennessee just buy a strip of land, and give it to your neighbor. You do have to file a subdivision plat.
Right, I mean, it's
the planning commission
more
would have to bless
complicated than that, right?
that real estate transaction too, so. It's
Right,
not-
right.
it's
I
not
don't
just
wanna-
we do occasionally get people that just write deeds and record it and go, oh, we're great, and I'm like, no.
Moving property, yeah.
They've just created an illegal subdivision, so.
Yeah, maybe perhaps a permanent easement or something along those lines. So, anyway, those are just suggestions. Thinking outside the box a little bit here.
After you informed the folks that were working on the house, did they continue doing work on it?
Yes, sir. And they accused us of harassing them, bullying them, being unneighborly, and said if you have a problem with it, get a survey.
Okay. Did you get a survey when you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, anything else for Ms. Weiss?
She came prepared.
Okay, we'll call back up the appellants.
Okay, thank you. I'm not coming back up here really to argue against anything that Ms. White has just said. Just wanted to kind of make some clarifications. She made a comment, and I think Joey made a comment a minute ago about making the existing house comply. I don't know that I've ever or seen a situation where you've got a 95-year-old house that happens to be close to a property line where you're required to make changes to the existing house. I mean, that's seems like a separate issue from the addition we're doing, but I just wanted to make that point. She made a comment about how would rainwater be handled. Mr. Dismukes has informed me there already is a French drain on that side of the house, and roof drainage will be connected to that. And then regarding the comment Mr. Ransom made about a rated wall, we could make that, it's the west wall of this addition. It could become a fire rated wall. There's no windows in it now, so we can achieve a 1-hour rating on that wall if necessary. So that's all I really want to add, and take any other questions at this time. Anything else you two wish to add?
Well, I can address some of the comments about the stop work order. I've got emails from codes that gave us permission to carry on after the first stop work order, because we've been in business for 40 years. We're not here to create any enemies at codes by any means, but we did stop working on the addition. They gave us permission to seal the envelope, which included the roof and some windows that were already taken out. So we had permission to complete that work, which we did. The second stop work order was when we were doing the roof on the existing house, and somebody called codes, I guess, and they shut us down again. I spoke again to codes. They said, yes, you have permission to finish the roof, finish your roof, and don't do any more work. I said, that's been our plan all along. And so we did not violate any agreement with codes that was presented. It may have appeared to the neighbor that we did, but we did not. So just want to clarify that situation. And I agree with Preston on if we were required or forced to fix Mr. Swain's house to meet that code requirement, that'd really be a hardship on the homeowner. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have for me.
I just had a couple on the stop work orders. Were they specific as to why, or was it generic?
He wanted us to, the first one was until we had a foundation survey completed, because with precedent going by the, the think parcel viewer that most people look at, and it looked fine on that. So once the Christopher Mayer, when he came by, I said, sure, I've already called the office to get a survey done. That was our first step, as we would. So we would know exactly where we were. And then, like I said, the second work order is after I'd already specifically asked if we had permission to complete the roof, and they said yes. And we were completing the roof, and that's when the second was issued. I was not on the job site at the time. I'd actually gone to lunch, and I came back. I talked to the director of codes, and he said, go ahead and finish the roof.
Okay.
And the roof is still not on the addition. It's just tarped. So it's been exposed to the elements for months or weeks, and we had a leak over the Christmas vacation, and we would would love to get it dried in and, or completely roofed, but anyway.
All right, thank you.
And from what I think we heard before is that Mr. Swan had recently purchased the house.
Yes, it's been about 1 year that I've owned the home.
So I'm assuming you would have no knowledge of an unpermitted addition.
No, that right there where it may be an addition is a guess. I'm not entirely sure. When I purchased the home, I purchased it as is prior to the addition that Trace is working on right now.
When you acquired the house, did you get a survey?
When I first purchased it, no. And I thought I had, and I talked to my real estate agent, and she said that's not a normal thing when purchasing a house, because at that time I was just buying the house as is.
Okay, I guess I didn't do closings for 30 or 40 years. Depends what the lender requires. Yeah. Did you finance the house?
No, it's purchased
Cash?
outright, yes.
Okay, any additional questions? Anything you'd like to say to wrap up? You still have 5 minutes.
Yeah, in case this isn't approved where it sits, we have plans we've already drawn and ready to submit to codes to move the addition. This may be for legal. Are we going to be required to address the fire violation or?
No, if you meet the setback, then you're fine. And I'll speak to the existing old residents. We would never make you move the
Well, good,
existing
that
structure.
was my fear.
No,
Totally.
you are clearly legally non-conforming as to the 1920s, 30s era home. My question does involve any unpermitted additions as well as your addition that you did obtain a permit for. We would need some proof on. We'll look at aerial photographs to see if truly something was put on by a prior owner. As I tell owners of homes, when you purchase property, you get the fleas with the dog for free sometimes. So the addition that may have been unpermitted would need to be rectified to comply with the setback.
Well, we still got 4 minutes while I got your ear here. So if it's pardon?
The time's not intended to be running on a question.
Because if that's unpermitted, when will you find that out, or how long will that take us?
It'll take a few moments here today.
Okay.
Should be a matter of looking at aerial photographs.
Addition, I won't speak for it, it's really sounds like I had to move that too, or do something with it. I've never run into that situation, so I don't know.
Well, you're at the right place. The codes department can help
Yeah,
advise, not necessarily.
Well, I
this
got him
board.
right here.
We can figure that out before you go home today.
Gotcha, appreciate it.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to assist with that. Do you have any additional comments on this actual appeal?
One minor commentary to Mr. Lawless. When I first started working in the codes department in the late 90s, we saw mortgage loan surveys every time. We rarely see mortgage loan surveys anymore. So I don't know if the industry has gotten away from requiring that. They are super helpful to us, and I hate that they have disappeared. But
Most of my bank clients absolutely require it, but then my bank clients are still in existence too.
Yeah, and they're just usually general plus or minus 6 inches. Usually can be done faster.
A little in this one.
Right.
Honestly, Mr. Ransom, we don't even see them on new constructions. Now, a lot of times folks will bring us a survey, new home builders, but those that we used to see in the late 90s, even for additions to existing homes, we could go back in time to find when the house was permitted. We could work with that as a site plan for the new one.
Right.
But we don't even see them anymore.
I mean, the other jurisdictions where I build, it's 100% required. You have to have a boundary and topo right out of the gate. So.
I guess we can't make the big ones.
Yeah.
Require them.
I know. And they're not,
No,
I don't have any more questions for them. I just,
Okay, did you have any other comments here?
no.
No, okay. Any other comments on your side before we close?
Don't think so. No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll close the public hearing now and discuss. it's a non-conforming case, so we have to look at the degree of non-conformity. I think because it's a violation of the setback, I don't personally see how I could vote in favor of it.
I'll telegraph, I'm not going down the road. I mean, this is one of those rare instances where a neighbor has done an incredibly good job of bringing things out there. I mean, I had an open mind, and I listened, but you would have thought there would have been some more caution when there was an objection hollered across the fence while they were building. I'm just having a hard time getting over that, and nothing I've heard has changed that. And then the actual demonstrative proof from looking at it, I mean, there's a violation, plain and simple. But I'll continue to listen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with that. I mean, if you look on parcel view, it really is about 5 or 6 feet, so, I don't think they intended to violate. And there's no requirements in Davidson County that, unfortunately, that requires to have a boundary and topo survey, which would help avoid these issues. But it still doesn't take away the fact that it is.
Well, I will make a motion to deny the item D appeal.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Okay. I see a pause over here.
No.
I'm just frustrated.
Okay,
But,
so.
No, I don't have anything to say.
It was preventable, and I think that's what's
Frustrating me is just that these things are very easily preventable with inexpensive surveys. And I just wish Davidson County would require them. That's what you're reading from my frustration.
Okay. Understood. So there's a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. So that's 4 to deny the appeal. So that is denied. And that concludes the meeting.
motion to adjourn.
Madam Chairman, just kind of post note on that. I looked through the aerial photos. That addition's been out there.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.